Okay, so since this workshop is basically a hands-on kind of thing, I suggest everyone to actually kind of follow along if you are in the beginners level, assuming that the workshop is targeted for the beginner audience. Again, if there are intermediary and advanced audience available, you can also get some kind of takeaways with whatever we discuss here, right? And if you have not already used, you can try those aspects as well. There was a small kind of disconnect, I guess. I guess I am audible now. So if there is any kind of deviation or inconvenience, kindly let me know. Yeah. So yes, guys. So please ensure that all of you are in the environment that you have already set up, right? So just ensure that you have Visual Studio Code and a terminal and a browser window, right? And we will get started with some kind of fundamentals. Basically, probably we can have this as a kind of interactive session and try to understand the core features better. All right. So I am just sharing my screen now. I would like someone to say if the screen is visible. I have just started presenting. Hope my screen is visible. Thank you for the response. So I am in Sublime Text now, right? So let us do some simple tasks to understand the Git flow better, right? Assuming that you got a kind of taste of what Git is all about and GitHub is all about in the earlier session, and maybe some commands as well. So again, we are going to do a kind of uh, refreshment. All right. Okay. So let's get started with line number 3, right? So before we get started with any of these particular concepts one by one, right? Uh, let us quickly test our versions of Git and Visual Studio Code. You would have already done that. Again, let us do that once again if you have not already done so. So you can go to your terminal. And again, I have just switched my screen to the terminal, and I guess this is visible as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, so I am in my terminal and I am in my home directory, right? So first of all, let us see our versions of Git, right? So I have Git version 2.33.3, 2.33.0. So depending upon the operating system, you may want to have the latest version of Git, right? So if you're making use of Mac, right? I suggest you guys to make use of Brew to install Git, right? You can also install Git from the website, right? But otherwise, again, making use of a package manager is sometimes like depending upon the taste, right? It's a cool thing that you can actually make use of. All right. So Git is available and Visual Studio Code is available as well. So you can check the versions this way, right? So code is available and the version is 1.6.02, 60.2. Okay, so that is all we actually need to test, right? Again, if you have a kind of node project, if you're not following along or if you're following along with your own project, right, and if it is probably a node project, right, you may probably also want to ensure that node is installed, and again, you can make use of node and npm to actually manage your projects if it is a node-based projects, right? Again, I have node here, so I do not know whether we'll make use of node. Again, it may come in handy. So node is also available, right? So now that we have tested, things are all in place, right? This entire system can recognize our particular utilities, right? Code, Git, and Node, right? Now let us go over to the browser, right? So please head over to the browser, guys. Rather than getting a particular directory right from scratch, let us make use of a directory from GitHub. So you can pick any particular project from GitHub, which might be a kind of favorite to you, right? But again, if you want to kind of follow along, right? Maybe I have a very small project with some HTML file and some CSS and some assets, etc., so that you can get a better understanding with a limited number of files to get started. Okay, so once you are here, right, I request you guys to actually not clone. There is a concept of cloning, right, fetching, pulling, etc. We will discuss GitHub later in detail, right? We just need to have a kind of project, right? So our idea or our flow is like, let us have a project, let us do some kind of local modifications, etc. Let us push that particular project to GitHub, right? And then explore further, right? So that is the idea. So we go to code here and then download the zip file. So the project has been downloaded. Let me go to my downloads folder, and in downloads folder you have this. Okay, so let me just move this to the desktop, right? And let me rename this particular folder to say Git workshop or Git something like that. Okay, so let me say Git workshop, Git WS. Okay, so in desktop you have a folder, assuming that this is our project folder which contains some project files. In fact, it is a small mini kind of static project which just displays a HTML page with a link to some other external resource. All right. Okay, so let us open this in Visual Studio Code. You can open it via Visual Studio Code by dragging this and then choosing Visual Studio Code from down below if you are using Mac, or maybe you can try terminal as well. So you can go to the location which is your desktop. So where am I now? You are in the home folder. So from the home folder, let us navigate to our desktop. So and from desktop, you just ensure that you are in desktop, and then you do ls minus al to see all the files, and you can see git ws folder is available in the desktop, right? So now from here, you can do code dot to open up the project in Visual Studio Code. All right, now that we have a particular project here, right, now from this particular project in Visual Studio Code, right, we can make use of the integrated terminal, right, which is really a very nice feature, right, to actually experiment with Git commands. Okay, so what is our first command? So before we, yeah, this is our Sublime text, which contains the to-do list kind of. Before we experiment with each one of the commands, right? Now let us open up the terminal. You can do a command J, right? Or you can go to view, and from view you can select your terminal from somewhere else. I do not know where it is. Let me just say, yeah, you have the terminal here, right? So you can either select from view, you can select terminal from under view, or you can make use of the shortcut, right? It is command J in Mac. Okay, now this integrated terminal, this is Z shell, right? So you can add more shells, right? You can work with multiple shells parallelly, right? You have a debug console. There was a small interruption, I guess. Hope my talk is audible.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Thank you. Yeah, so what I was telling is the integrated terminal, guys, depending upon the shell that you're using, right? I'm using a Z shell over here. You can have multiple shells, including bash, right? And work with multiple shells in parallel. And there are other configurations also, including debug console output problems. But we are just interested with this particular tab terminal. Okay, so again, you can just confirm your particular shell by saying echo $0 and see this is your Z shell now, right? So you are inside a Z shell, right? So you can either make use of Z shell or bash. Okay, so also you just confirm that you are in the proper location where your project is living. So by default, your terminal, it will take you to the proper location. So you are inside home, under that desktop, which contains your particular project. All right. So from here you can do a minus al and then go from, right? So you just need to ensure that you are inside the project folder, right? So by default, it should actually take you to this project folder, but then we actually did a code dot on the desktop, so we got this. Okay, so understanding is, see, for example, if you just want this directly without actually typing this, right, you can actually go to, there are multiple ways. You can actually go to the actual place, and from there you can do a code dot as well. So let us do that. So let us go to the actual project folder, and then from here you can do a code dot. Okay, so this will again open with the proper path. So now if you do PWD, you are in Git WS, right? Otherwise, if you are somewhere else, you just do a CD and then navigate to the project folder or the location. Okay, let me just close this welcome screen, and then let me just little bit. Yeah, there was a sound again, so I am just asking again if I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so let us come to our Sublime text. Okay, guys, so let us first of all configure our name, email, editor, default branch, etc. Right? So you would have probably studied or you would have got a kind of basics on this as well earlier. So probably you can be either interactive or just probably follow along, right? And if you have something that you have actually missed, right, you can have a look at it, and let us do that configuration. Okay, now this is basically a configuration, guys, that you can do at the project level, at the user level, and at the project level, right? So what I'm trying to say is this configuration can be done at the project level, user level, right? Okay, and system level. Okay, so typically you have got three different levels that you can make use of to actually do the configuration. So mostly like developers do the configuration at the user level. That basically means that if you do the configuration at the user level, it applies to that particular user and for all the projects that is associated with that particular user. So let us do that. So this, you do it using the git config command, right? So you do a git config and then minus global. So this is for the user level, guys. So you do a global and then you do a user dot name, right, and specify your username, right? And similarly for the email, right, you can specify the email. So when you do this kind of configuration, and then when you sync things with GitHub, right, your names will be reflected, right? So who is the contributor, etc. So the name will be reflected in the remote repository as well. So I just say, Chandra at ssm.edu. Yeah. Okay. So this is how you configure at the global level, right? And then also let us configure. There are so many different configurations that you can do and that are supported. You can look into the documentation, but typically at the base or fundamentally at the core, right? You need to actually at least configure certain things like name, email, editor, and the default branch. So the default branch, guys, earlier versions of Git actually made use of something called as master, which was the default branch, right? But now with newer versions of Git, you make use of main. Okay. So if you just want to have the default branch with a specific name, either main or trunk, trunk is another name that is widely used, right? You can make use of default branch, essentially init.default branch, right? It is init.default branch during the configuration itself. There are other ways also. After configuring, you can also change the branch name. That is also possible. But during the configuration, if you just want to set your particular branch name, master branch name to a particular name, you can do that initialization using this manner. Okay, so let's get started with the editor. So let us configure our editor. By default, the default editor will be used, right? You can also specify a particular editor of a particular taste, right? So that is to be associated with your Git workflow. So for that, let us do a editor configuration. For that, you do git config global, right? And it is core.editor. Okay, and specify the name of the editor that you have already set in the path, right? So, for example, I say it is code. So Visual Studio Code is already in the path, so it will be recognized as code, and then you can specify a wait so that it waits till your particular process is over, right? So this is one way, right? Or you can also just say code without the wait, right? Both are okay. So let me just go with wait so that the editor waits till I am done with the editing and closing the tab. So git config global core.editor code.wait. So that is done, and then just to have a test on that, so you can just say get config global and then -e to open your particular config file within the Visual Studio Code. So you can say -e. See this config file gets opened here automatically. All right. So this is your default editor. If you are saying something else, right, that particular editor will be opened, right, and it will wait for you, right, till you click the close button. So that is gone. So that is the idea behind wait. Okay. So far so good, guys. Any doubts or clarifications? Fine. Fine. So next is init.default branch. You can do a init.default branch also. As I said, like, by default it is master, right? Even again, if you have, exactly to be frank, don't remember the exact version after which you can do this kind of modification during the configuration. I guess it is after 2.28, I guess. Git version 2.28 and later. I'm not exactly sure on that. But the idea here is you can do change globally as well. So let us do that. So you say git config ---- global and then init.default branch. And then you specify a branch name or main or trunk. Let me just say main, right? Whatever name you want to give rather than master, right? So if you are using an older version of Git, right, by default, when you do a Git init, right, you get master as the master branch. The name of the master branch is master, right? But again, you can make use of this idea of configuring your particular branch with a different branch name. All right. Now you have done some couple of configurations here, right? You can also see your particular configurations through this particular command, get config list. Right. See the configurations that you have done: your name, email, default branch, and core.editor. Right. So you can list out the configurations that you have actually done, so that you can actually ensure that things are all okay. Fine. So that was our first part. So that is over. And then let us list the configuration. That is also over. And then let us initialize the project, guys. Now let us initialize the project. Now you should be able to tell me. Probably you can be interactive as well. Somebody, how do you initialize this particular project so that it could be tracked?
Git init, sir.
Fantastic. So it is git init. Right, so you just do a git init and see it says initialized empty git repository in this particular location. And as you can see here, Visual Studio Code is also very cool in the sense you can see the color change, and it says the idea behind the git initialization says this is you, etc. Right? We'll talk about this you, but probably if you have already understood what you and this particular notation is, somebody can say what is you.
Unstaged, sir.
It is untracked, guys. It is untracked. Okay, so there are different states, right? So we have just done a git initialization. So this particular things, the color have changed, and you have got a U representation here saying that, or this means that these particular files are untracked now, right? So there are different states like tracked state, untracked state, and within the tracked state, right, you have got different states again: modified, unmodified, right, and staged, right? So these particular states, etc., right, will become actually kind of quite familiar and natural to you as you keep practicing, right? So it is very, very important that you practice this particular aspects depending upon the project that you have, or as you start creating a particular project, and if you want to actually maintain that particular project over time, right, you try to apply these particular commands, right, as you use, right, apply these particular commands and then practice. That's all I can say. U is untracked, guys. Git init, it has essentially initialized our particular repository. I will say this as a kind of local repository because it is local, so it is just managed by you. We have not yet synced it with a remote repository. We can do that as well, which we will see in the tomorrow's lecture or talk. Okay, so now this every tracking, all this particular tracking happens inside what is called as a .git directory, right? Now, if you see the present working directory is your particular project folder, and if you do ls-al, so that your hidden folders are also visible, you can see something called as .git. Okay, so if you are just curious, right, you can just go inside .git as well and see what is available. And see you have got different folders, etc. All these particular folders and files within this particular folders are responsible for doing the entire tracking or managing your particular source files, right, in this particular folder. All right, so let me just go a level above and ensure that I am in the project folder. All right, so what was our task? We have just initialized this, right? Okay, so we have seen the .git directory as well. Okay, now let us do a staging, right? So what do you mean by staging, guys? Any quick answer?
Making the file ready to be committed.
Yeah, making the file ready to be committed. Fantastic. So it is something like putting everything right ready before you actually put it into production or deploy. That actually set up before you actually put into the suitcase. So the things that you set up is the kind of staging, and when you set up those particular things, and then okay, these are the things I'm sure I'm going to put it in my suitcase. So you put it in the suitcase and lock it, right? That is committing. Okay, maybe some kind of weird example, but that is the idea. So let us stage it, right? So how do you stage it? Is it git stage? Git add. Yeah, so git add, you can stage all the files, right? You can put a dot, or you have other options as well, hyphen all, or hyphen -a, right? You can explore these particular options and the syntax, right? Again, from the documentation, and whichever you feel preferable, you can make use of that. So generally, like you can specify a particular file name if you are not kind of unsure whether as to I want to stage the other files. So you can just specify, say, index.html, right? So that will just stage your particular single file, right? And okay, if you're sure that okay, I want to put everything in the suitcase, right? You can just say a dot or hyphen all. All right. So git add dot, right? You can see here there is a reflection here as well, right? AAA from you it has changed to AAA. Everything has been changed, right? So that means that things are now added, right? Or it has been staged, all right? Okay, now that we have done the staging, we can do a commit. Okay, so commit is putting things inside the suitcase, right? So you do a commit with a kind of message, right? So when you do a commit, you commit along with the message so that you can go back and forth between the commits, right? And do all sorts of things, right? Something similar to a time machine. Okay. So for commit, what is the command, guys?
Git commit minor.
Yeah, so let me say it as a first command. See here, things have been committed, and then you don't have any more representations. That essentially means that things have been committed, and this is your first commit. All right? Okay, now let us view the commits that we have, right? So we just have a single commit now. So let us view that particular commit, right? So how do you view your commit? Okay, so this is how you view a particular commit. You just say git log, right? So as your project gets more complex and as you change things over time, right? For every change, typically speaking, right? You will be creating your own commit, right? So that you can actually keep track of what has actually happened in your particular project, right? So that is the idea of having multiple commits and then going back and forth between commits that you actually want, right? So see here, this commit actually has a number. This is the hash ID, right? So commits makes use of hash, right? So that every commit is identified through this particular hash ID, right? And think of this commits and multiple commits as having a particular pointer that always points to the head, right? Or the latest commit, right? So that is being represented here. So this is your kind of head pointer that points to the latest commit, right? So if you do further commits, your remaining commits will be down here, right? After the first commit, and your first commit or the latest commit, sorry, it is not the first commit, your latest commit after the first commit, right, is the place wherein the head will be pointing to. Okay, so this is your first part, right? Your commits are identified by your hash IDs, right? And then you have your author that we have actually specified in our config file, and then you have your date, and then the name of your message, commit message, first commit. Okay, and how do you view the status, right? So this is typically a very useful command, right, that beginners typically make use of again and again, right, so that they know what is the status of that particular project that is being tagged, right? So for that, we can view the status by saying git status. Right, it says on branch, nothing to commit, working tree is clean. Right, so this actually means that you are in the main branch and there is nothing to commit because you have already done a particular commit and there is no further modification, and so it says the working tree is clean. Guys, so far so good. Any clarifications or any kind of queries or doubts? Okay. You may also probably try this parallelly as we are doing, right? So guys, are you doing this parallelly as we are seeing these particular concepts, so that see,
Yes,
I suggest that you guys do it parallelly so that you at least get kind of grip on the fundamentals and then you can take it on forward by yourself. All right. So this was our last command, seeing the status. And then let us do a change to a file, right? Save it and then add it and then, okay, undo it, right? So for that undoing, you do a restore, right? So let us do this, right? So let us change a file, save it, add it and undo it. Okay. So let us take this simple readme.markdown file and do a small change, right? So you can do any kind of change, right? So let me just expand this so that you get a better view, right? Maybe let me just delete it. Deleting is also a change, right? So let me just delete it and then save it. Okay. So guys, as you see, when you delete this particular line and you save it, see this color has changed. This color, it says yum. That means what?
modified, sir.
Yeah, it got modified, right? So you have an indication here as well, right? So you can typically see git status now, right? So you can say git status. See, it says readme.md has been modified and changes are not committed yet, right? So what you can do is you can add to stage and then commit it. But let us say, for example, okay, I have just deleted, I just want to undo this particular deletion. You can undo the deletion as well, right, by making use of git restore, right? So you do a git restore here directly, right? This will get restored and you will get the content back. But say, for example, okay, you have staged it and then after staging it, you are just realizing that, okay, I should have undone that. Okay, or you should have restored that. You can do that as well. But before committing, after staging, if you want to undo, you can do that. Okay, so let us do that. Okay, let me first of all show you this part. So from here, if you just do get restore, you can specify the file name or you can specify dot, right? I just do a dot here, right? See, this comes back. Okay, so that is restoring. Now, say for example, I delete this, I save this again, right? This has been modified. So if I do a git status, it has been modified. Now, if I do a git add, right, and add things to the staging, but I have not yet committed now. So see, it still says modified readme. Now I can do a commit, right? Now when I do a commit, now there will be no contents in this particular file. Now from this particular staging area also you can do a restore back of that particular file, right? Now when you do a restore, right, now you need to do it two times. One from the staging area, right, to your particular working directory, right, and then you need to do a restore again so that from the working directory you actually get your original content back. Okay, so let us do that. So you do a git restore. You can either do a staged, right, as you can see here, or you can just specify a capital S. Both are okay, right? So let me just do a staged. And if I do a git status, right, you're in main branch now, right, and then you need to do another restore so that it actually gets restored from your particular file, okay, or your particular file gets restored. So you just say gets restored, and then now you can see this has come back. Okay, so that is undoing kind of using restore, right? Again, another information like earlier versions of Git, they made use of checkout, right? You can also make use of checkout, right, to do a kind of undo or restore. But again, checkout we can make use of for some other purposes, right? That we will see later, right? So we will make use of restore. Okay. Our next step is let us add a file, guys, and then try restoring. Okay, so let us come over here. Let us add a file. Say test.md. Okay, I have just added a file, right? I have just added a file and it says it is untracked. Okay, now that I have just added a file, if I just say git status, you see this test.md, right? It is untracked. Okay, now what will happen if you do a restore, guys? Any guess? Will the file go away? No. Untracked files are not actually taken care of by Git, right? Or managed by the Git version control system, right? Now this, since it is untracked, now when you do Git, let us do it. Okay, if you do a Git restore dot, right? See, this file is still available. It has not gone, right? So that is one point you need to remember, guys, right? So if you actually want to remove it, you can remove it, right, from here, right, by manually, or you can also do a git remove if it has already been tracked, started tracking. We'll talk about deleting files later, but for now, let us remove it manually, right, and that is gone. All right, guys.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Guys, the next important, very important thing we need to actually set up when we start our particular project management with source control system, something like Git, is to set up your ignore files, right? So for that, you can make use of what is called as .git ignore, right? So it is always typically considered to be a good practice to set up your .ignore file at the beginning of the project, typically because once you are in the project and you are managing the project and you're doing multiple commits, and then in future in some other later point in time, if you do a kind of .git ignore, right, sometimes things may not work as expected, and then you may want to do some other kinds of add and committing stuffs, etc., sometimes removing stuffs, etc., right, to actually ensure that git ignores behave as expected, right? And sometimes you may probably want to clear the cache as well, right? And if you actually want to do that, right, if you are in a kind of messy situation, right, you can remove the cache by saying git remove minus r minus minus cached. Okay, now that we have our particular project in a very initial state, let us add a git ignore file. Okay, so what you typically do is you come over here in your project location and then you specify a dot git, sorry, git ignore. Okay, so now this is the place wherein you put all your files that you actually don't want it to be tracked. Okay, so git ignore is a particular file wherein you specify all the files and folders, right, that don't want to be get tracked. Okay, so typically speaking, if you are working in Mac, you may probably get a DS store or something like that. And if you have a Node project, you may have something called as Node modules, right? Which is typically heavy, and probably you may not want to have that particular file tracked as well. Okay, or you can have any particular file name, right? In this particular project, right, that you don't want to track, right, everything, right, and you can have multiple lines. Say for example, let us do something. Say for example, let us add for sorry guys, let us add a folder called as to-dos, right? And to-dos, we will create a folder, and we don't want this to-dos folder to be tracked. Okay, so we just put a slash, and all the files inside to-dos is not going to be tracked, right? And you can specify a particular file name. If you don't want to be tracked, you can specify a particular file name as well. Say for example, you can also make use of expressions, regular expressions. Say for example, I don't want to have any particular file that starts with something, right, and which ends with something like to do, right? And we may have say to do 1, to do 2, to do 3, or something like that. So we can have asterisk after this, right? Dot empty. Okay, so all our empty files in this particular pattern, they will also be ignored. Okay, so let us try this out. So let us save this. Okay, now we have saved this. See, this particular file is untracked. So if you do git status, it says it is untracked. Okay, so let us quickly do git add and add this particular file to the staging environment, right? And if you do a git status, right, now it is ready to be committed. Let us also do a commit so that now we have a second commit. So let us do a git commit and say add.git. Sorry, added.ignore file. Alright, so that is gone and it has been committed. If you do a git log, see, now we have got two commits, right? This is our latest commit, added.ignore file, and this is our first commit, right? And .ignore file contains 2 lines, right? So now if you go over here, say for example, let us create a folder called as to-dos. Okay, now to-dos, it is untracked again. Now it doesn't contain anything. Say, let us add a particular file in this particular folder. Okay, it is untracked. So let me, it is not a folder, I guess. One second. So let me move to trash and let me create it as a folder. So it is to-dos. Now it is a folder. Now inside the folder, again, first of all, to-dos is not going to be tracked, but we don't have anything, right? So an empty folder is not going to be identified through your git, right? So let us have a file inside this, and let us say to-do 1. Now see here guys, first of all, this also gives you a kind of visual cue, right? The Visual Studio Code itself gives you a visual cue. It is grayed out. So that means that it is not getting tracked. So that is also a visual indication. So if a particular file is grayed out, that means that those particular files are not tracked. Okay, now see here, if you do a git status again, right, it will not say that to do one.md is untracked, because you don't want to track it, right? Right, so nothing to commit, working tree is clean. All right, now say for example, we have this pattern also. So if I have, or if I add another file here, say, I don't want that. Okay, let me add to do 2.md, and say if I move this out here. Okay, now this is not part of to-dos, but it is separately outside, right? That is also not getting tracked, right? So that is in gray color because we have this particular pattern, right? So this will also not be tracked. So that was about the git ignore files. And again, you can play with this, we can play with these particular commands, right? And then if you actually want, right, and if you have actually kind of messed up, right, probably if you want to clear the cache, you can specify git rm minus r dash dash cached. Okay, guys, next up is deleting files, right? Now deleting files you can do in two ways, right? You can either do a manual delete or you can make use of RM. Okay, so let us see that. Okay, so let us say for example, you want to delete a file. You have this index.html as well. Okay, so let us take this, say for example, and say if you want to delete this particular file, right? So you can delete it manually. Okay, so okay, let me take this index.html. So if I delete it manually, it is gone. Yeah. So now if you do a git, sorry. See this, it says deleted, right? And then probably you can add and then you can commit and say that you have deleted index.html if that is what you are looking to, right? But now this is just for demonstration. We have just deleted it, but we want the file actually to be back, so that is the one core file which actually represents a kind of static page, right? So we actually don't want to delete it permanently. So you can do a restore, right? So you can say git restore. Index.html. There's a typo. We got it back. Okay guys, now say for example, let me show you another thing. If I just delete this again and move it to trash, and if I do a git status, it says it has been deleted. Okay, say for example, okay, by mistake you have done a git add and then you have gone to staging as well. So you have gone to the staging environment by saying git add and then dot. Now you are in staging, but then you realize that okay, that was not okay. So you do a restore 2 times, as we have already seen earlier, right? So now if you do a git status, sorry. So now I want this particular file back. I don't want to commit it. So you can say git restore -s, right? And then you do a git restore index.html and your file is back. Okay, so that is one way, guys. And the other way is you can make use of RM. So when you make use of RM, so please play around with these things. Try to understand the different kinds of states, right? Modified state, unmodified, right? Stage, state, etc. Right? So that you get a better understanding of actually how it works and you feel more comfortable. So guys, yes. So the other way is you can make use of git rm. So you can also say this git rm. Now the advantage of making git or advantage of using git rm is it saves you one step, right? So when you do a git rm, right, the information is already or the information goes onto the staging stage or the staging environment, right? So let us do that again, right? So if I do git rm and push with the file name index.html, it says removed index.html. Right now, if you do a git status, see this, it is now ready to be committed. Right, so it gives you, say, if you actually wanted to delete the file, right, so it saves you one step of adding the particular file to the staging environment. Right, so this gets added to the staging environment automatically. So that is git rm. All right. So let me just do a restore. Because I actually don't want to delete the file, right? So if you actually want to delete the file and if you want to actually go away with a single step, right, of adding to the staging, right, you can do a git rm, right? Or else you can also go with the manual thing, whichever is comfortable for you. Okay, so that is deleting files. So before we continue with the next part, any doubts on any of these particular commands so far, guys? Things are all clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So let us see a couple of more commands and then a couple of exercises so that you can practice as well, right? So before we come to the exercise, right, let us do a renaming, right? So deleting, renaming, moving files around, it will be a kind of common task that you will be performing again and again, right? And you guys need to be actually kind of comfortable with when you actually manage things with Git. Okay, so again, just like with delete, you can actually rename files using two ways, right? Either manual or you can make use of MV. Okay, now let us see that in action. Okay, let us get started with the manual part. So say for example, I just want to rename this particular file as say home.html, right? So this is a renaming. So I've just renamed this and it is untracked now. Now if you do a git status, see this. You have actually deleted index.html and then you have renamed home.html. So this actually is how renaming works typically, right, in Linux-based systems, right? So renaming is essentially a two-step process. You delete the old file and then rename your new file, right? So delete index.html and then you have your untracked file which is called as home.html, which is here, right? So this is how you do a rename, which is manually. So after you have renamed this, you can then add it and then commit it. Okay, it says renamed index.html to home.html. You can commit it as well. Okay, now you don't want to actually commit it, so I just want to have it as index.html. So let me just do a restore. Yes. And get restore index.html. All right, so we got that back. Now see, although we got that back, right, you have your home.html also. Okay, so if you do a git status now, right, you have a new file home.html, right? Now if I, what you can do is you can just remove this. Right, so that you just have the index.html, right? So you say deleted home.html. So you can commit it, you can say that home.html you have actually renamed it and you have actually deleted it, right? Or you may not want to stage it and commit it. Okay, so that's your call. Okay, the other way is you can make use of MV. Okay, so let us see that. So git status is what we have a new file home.html, right? Okay, guys. So let me just first of all remove this file also. So if I say git rm home.html, so that has already been deleted, right? So that is gone. So we have our branch clean. All right. So let us see the second way. So we have seen the first way, manual, and then the second way is we can make use of move, right? So just like with delete, when you make use of move, again you save an additional step, right? So that you need not explicitly do a staging or an addition, right, to the stage. So let us do that now. So if you say get move, right, the file that you want to move, which is index.html, right, and let us rename it to say home.html. See this, it got renamed, right? Now if you do status, right, it has already been staged and it is ready to be committed. All right. Okay, now just like with the manual approach, we actually don't want to commit this now, right? We just want to have it as say home.html, index.html maybe, or if you want to have a commit, you can add another message and say that your index.html, you have renamed it to home.html, depending upon your preferences. Say, for example, I am choosing not to actually have this as a separate commit, I just want to restore it back. Okay, now one thing that you can probably use is you can again make use of git move to do the restoration because you have not yet committed, right? So since you have not yet committed, right, rather than doing a restore 2 times, right, what you can do is you can probably do git move, right, and then say things in reverse. I want to say home.html, right, and say that is index.html. All right, so since you have not committed, right, you can do this in the reverse manner so that you can avoid typing restore 2 times. So let us see if it works. See this, you get index.html back. And if you do a git status, it's all clean now. Okay, and git log again, you've got 2 commits. So far so good, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what do we have next? Okay, next, guys, it's a small exercise, right? You can do this particular exercise and we will also again do it so that we can see if it actually matches with what you have actually done and what you have actually understood. So the idea is with respect to differences, right? Now, what do you mean by differences, guys? Differences actually let you see the original version with the changed version of the file, right? So for that you can make use of git diff command, right? So that is all about differences, right? So try this particular task by yourself if you are kind of following along, right? And probably tell me if you have done it right. Okay, so differences is, as I've already said, right, it gives you or helps you understand or helps you view the difference between your original file and the changed file. So what exactly you have actually changed. If you want to see that, you can make use of git diff, right? So depending upon the file, how small or how big it is, right, either you can make use of git diff or you can make use of a separate specific extension to see the differences in a much more visually appealing manner, right? So there are extensions available in Visual Studio Code as well, so that you can make use of something like git lens, which is available, right? So again, that is the next level, right? So let us restrict ourselves with git diff as of now. All right. So git diff, as I've already said, it is for the difference between the original file and the changed file, right? So let us do a small change to a file, right? So which is our first exercise, right? So guys, create a folder. Okay, so I suggest you guys to try this out, right? I give you maybe 3 to 5 minutes. So create a folder, line number 56, 58, 60, 62, and 64, right? So create a folder, say name it HTML within your particular project folder. So create a folder over here. That is your first task. Second task is move your HTML file. In this particular case, you have got only one HTML file. So depending upon the project, if you are following along, you have a single file. Move your HTML file, right, to the created folder, which is HTML, and then see the differences, right, both in the terminal and also in the UI. We will talk about this UI, right, but again, you stick to the terminal, and then you stage, and then you commit it. After you do the change, you want to actually commit the particular change. But again, before you actually commit the change, the idea here is you want to actually see the differences and then actually ensure yourself before you actually do a commit. That is the idea. All right. So to actually see the differences, right, you make use of git diff, right? So guys, can you just try? I give you 2 to 3 minutes and see if you are able to do it, and if you are able to do it successfully, please let me know. We will do this again in this particular folder, but please try it yourself first. Okay, so let me also join you. Let me do along with you. So if you are creating a folder, and if you are in Visual Studio Code, you can come over here and create a folder. So what should be our folder name? Let us name it as HTML. All right, and then move the HTML files to the generated folder. So we have one file here, right? Let us move this to the HTML folder. I want to move it. So you can see it has been moved here, right? And it has been untracked. So since we are doing some kind of change, right? This has been reflected over here as well. So you can see that, right? So since it is a move, as you can see here, it deleted index.html, right? And it has added the HTML folder, right? And actually moved it. Okay, again, I don't want these guys for now. So let me delete this. Maybe I will have this to-dos, right? I will add some kind of to-do later. So let me have this. Okay, so what is our next step? So I have moved the HTML files to the created folder, right? See the differences, right? So let me see the differences. So before I see the differences, okay, let me do a small change so that I can see the differences in the HTML file. So I have a HTML file which is a simple HTML file. We will do some simple change. Okay, before that, let us view the file using a live server. Okay, so certain things are not visible over here. We have a CSS file, we have got some icons. I do not know. Okay, let me try Chrome. Okay, certain things are broken over here. Let us probably check it out. Okay, but anyhow, it is a small HTML file with certain things that are broken. We need to check it out why it has been broken. Anyways, so let us do a small change. The idea here is to do a small change and see the differences. Say, for example, you have a link, you have a title. Let us play with this title. Okay, so let us say you have changed this particular title to say just Faco jump with asterisks here, that is asterisk before and asterisk after. Okay, so this is my change now. So I have changed this, right? I've saved this. So this is the change that I have done, right? So before I do a commit, right, what I can do is I can see the changes. So I can see I'm here, and then let me open the terminal and ensure that I'm in the right place. And then from here I can do a get def. So that is our next step. So let me just close this for now, and then take this side by so that I can see what we are actually supposed to do. We are supposed to see the differences. So we can do a get def. So as you can see here, right, you can see the difference, but the difference, it is not reflected over here. So let us just check it out once again. So since it is untracked, so let us see why we are not able to see the differences. One second, guys. So we have indeed changed this. And first of all, let us, before see the differences by using get def, let us see the status. Okay, it says untracked file. This is untracked. Okay, so let me just do a git add for now. So this got renamed. So if I do a git status, right, it got renamed. All right. So now if I do a get def, there is no differences because we have added it to the staging, right? So let us do a restore. Okay. You specify the file name, or if you are okay with everything, you can just put a dot. Okay, so you are back in the original form, right? Now you have changed this. You wanted to see the difference. Let me see if I can go over here, right? So this is another source code view, right, which is source control, from which you can see the changes, right? So this has been deleted and this has been renamed, right? And you can see the difference over here, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that is def, but again, the diff command, we are not able to get it. We need to see that index.html has been deleted. It has been, it is untracked here. Okay. So since we have moved that, and since we have done a restore, it is showing that U. So let us fix that by doing an add. So what you can do is you can do a get add. So through the UI we have seen, right, through the terminal it is git diff, right, but git diff we are not able to see the difference here. We just need to check out what the mistake that we are doing. So get diff here, let us see it again. If you are able to see the difference, we are seeing this entire file. So these are the additions, these are the deletions. Again, is there any break, guys? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Okay, guys, so where are we now? So git log, right? So we have two branches, right? So we have seen the difference. We have seen the difference through the terminal, through the diff. We will get back on that. Through the terminal, you can issue a git diff, but again, git diff, we are not able to see the difference through the terminal. So we need to check on that. Okay, so we'll come back to this. So this is done. Right, so we have done this. Okay, so this is not done, so only this part is done. So we'll come back to this and see what the issue is actually, right? Git diff, right? We are not able to see the differences. So this is something that is pending that we will check out. And then, okay, let us now stage and commit it. So we actually want this particular change to be committed, right? So we have put things in HTML folder. So let us commit that particular change so that we have one more commit message and we'll be having three commits, all right? So let us do that. So let us see the status first of all. Okay, so let us have this clean, right? So let us do a git dot and let us do a git status, right? It has been renamed, right? And then let us do a commit. So git commit, git commit, -m. What do we give the message? Or let us be generic. Moved HTML file or files to the HTML folder. All right. Now, if you do a git log, we have this. So we have now three commits, right? So our latest commit is moved HTML files to the HTML folder, and then we have the previous commits added git ignore file, and then we had the first commit. Okay, so that was the differences part. So that is done. So we have done the staging part. Okay, so this is the tick mark. This is done, and this commit is done. And then let us go to the next section. Okay, our next part is, again, it is part of differences only, right? Some additional information, right? We can see the commit on a single line as well, right? When you do a hyphen one line, right? So when you have multiple commits, this is really kind of useful, right? So that you can see all the commits in a single line, each commit in a single line rather, right? So rather than saying git log, right, and have all this particular information, right? Maybe you just want to have a small hash value rather than the complete hash value and just the name of the commit. Sorry. You can specify the one line thing, right? So you say git log hyphen one line. See here, this is much more kind of short and sweet, right? You just have a small hash value, right? And then the name of the commit, right? And the name of the commit in the second line, the name of the commit in the second line. Other information are not visible or not shown. So this is again very useful command, one line that you can make use of to see all your commits, right? In a much more neat manner. So that is this. And then git diff hash ID, whether that is required. Okay, you can try it, right? So guys, can you try that, or do you actually want me to try this with diff hash ID and see if we are able to see the difference? Guys, the syntax is, see, git diff, you specify the hash ID also. Okay, so say for example, let us have this and have this change again. So let us do a small change and then see if it works. Okay, so I've just done a modification, but I'm not committing it, right? Let us see if diff works with the hash ID. All right, so let us go here and then let us see git status, and you have done a modification. Okay, now if I go and do a git log one line, I have this. Right? So now if I do a git diff, so that I can see the difference in the diffs, right? I can specify a hash ID. So let us try it out. Def, and then say for example, I want to see the difference using this particular ID. See this? You can see the difference. Yeah. So this was the original with 2 asterisks, and this is the modified one. You are seeing the difference with a single asterisk. So if the file is something kind of simple, and if you're okay seeing the difference through the terminal, this is fine. Otherwise, you can make use of this one also and see the differences. Yes, guys?
Yes, sir.
So please play around with that, right? So earlier the problem was like, yes, we wanted to see the difference, but we did not specify the hash ID. So you need to specify the hash ID also to see the differences. Okay, now that, okay, we have seen the differences, okay, but we don't want to add and commit it, okay, so we can ignore this particular difference. So you can do a git status and then restore it back. So you can do a git restore and then the file name. Or you can just do a dot, whatever. All right. So we don't have this pending. All right. So that is done. Okay, the other thing that I have said is, yes, there is something called as git lens that you can make use of, right? You can search for git lens from the marketplace from here, right? Add it as an extension, and if you have really many different commits and many different branches that you want to actually inspect, right? Rather than using git def or using the source control, right? You can make use of git lens, right? You can explore that later, right? So that is something which is very useful that you can make use of if you have a complex big project. All right, so that is all about differences, guys. So next, let us do some amending and actually doing some actual changes beforehand, or something like as we say, or as we know that Git is a kind of time machine. We can go back and forth between the different commits, right? So let us actually go or travel behind the different kinds of commits that are available and then do some kind of changes. It is not only that, say for example, as you can see here, it is not only that you have the different logs that are available, each log associated with a particular ID. In fact, you can go to a particular log, you can go to a particular commit, you can do changes there as well. So that is also possible, right? We'll talk more of branches and merging all those particular aspects also by tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow afternoon we'll take up GitHub. But let us at least get started with some basics on the amending part first of all, right? So amending, again, exercise 2, if you want, you can just try to do this particular exercise as I explain what actually amending is. We will do it together as well, just like we have done with Git differences. The idea of amending is, before I actually say, any guesswork, guys, anybody? Amending. What do you mean by amend? Updating, right? Adding. So amending is actually updating a particular commit, right? Say for example, you have done a kind of related change on a particular file, but then you don't want to actually commit it with a different message. You want to actually override the last commit or the latest commit, right? You can amend it. That is called as amending. Okay, so let us see this in action so that you get a better perspective. So before we do this particular exercise, right, there are some syntaxes that are available that you can make use of, typically speaking, right? The first one is commit amend, right? Essentially git commit amend. So since git is a common part, I've just ignored the git in almost all the messages. I've just specified the command names. So the command name is commit followed by hyphen amend, right? So this, what it will do is, it will open up or fire up your default text editor, and then using that particular text editor, it will allow you to actually amend the commit message name, right? So if you do not actually change the message, right, it will be the same message, and then you will have your changes reflected there, right? Otherwise, if you actually do the change will be reflected, right? So if this does not make sense, let us see it in action. Okay, so let me just tell the syntax first of all. So you do a git commit amend, it will open up your default text editor, and using the text editor you can do the amendment. The second one is commit amend no edit. So when you say commit amend no edit, it is something like commit amend only, but when you explicitly say no edit, it is like, okay, you just want to have the commit message name, you just don't want to change the name of the message. So that is the name that is the meaning of no edit. And also, say for example, you don't want to make use of the editor, you can do it in terminal only. If you want to actually do it in terminal, you can say commit amend hyphen yum and specify the message name, right? So let us see this in action. Let us see this, and then probably you can try this by yourself. All right. So the exercise is, right, so let us do a small change to HTML file or files in the HTML folder, save it, stage it, and commit it. Okay, and then let us do another related change, but do not make a new commit, update and use the last commit, right? So we are trying to understand amending, right? Okay, so let's get started on the amending part, right? So first of all, let us see git log. We have some logs or some commits that are available. Let us do a small change to HTML file. So let us just make use of this to do a small change to the HTML file. Let us see what we can do. Say for example, you have a background color of white. So you can change the color. Say for example, I give it a blue color. Okay, you can either give a hex value here, or you can try using this palette. It's not coming up, one second. Or let me just say blue. Okay, or you can give a hexadecimal value. So I have just done a small change, so that I have just changed the background color to blue. So this particular change, let us do a git status. See this, we have modified the index.html, right? So that is what we are trying to do. We are modifying it, we are saving it, we are staging it, and we are committing it. So we have saved this particular file already, right? So let us say get dot, and then let us do a git status again. So we have this modified thing, let us commit it. So git -yum, say changed background color. All right, now if you do git log hyphen online, one line. See this? This is our latest commit, change background color, moved HTML files to the HTML folder, added .gitignore file, first commit. All right. Now say for example, you actually want to again do a change and change the color from blue to something else. So it is blue now. So let me say this particular color is say cyan. Okay. Now say if it is cyan, right? I don't want to do this as a separate commit, but rather I want to amend it to the last or the previous commit. Okay, so you can do that. So what you can do is you can do this and then close this and then come to your terminal and you can say get amend. It is git amend. So it is an option. So hyphen amend. right? And then you can specify these particular options, right? No edit, right? Or you can specify this particular message, and if you say -m, you can specify the message here itself, right? If you just specify commit amend, right, and then hit enter, it is commit amend, and hit enter, right? See this, it gets opened in the default text editor, which we have actually set to Visual Studio Code. All right. Now see from here, you can either have the same thing, right? Or if you want, you can change it. Say change background color to cyan. If I do this, okay. Now this will be the message, and it will not be a separate commit, right? So we are just amending the commit message, right? Now if I go back to my terminal and if I close this, right, since we have given a wait, or we had given a wait option during configuration, right? So when we close this, right, so that has been changed. See this? It has been changed, right? Now since it has been changed, or you can do a git log. See this? Change background color to cyan. Okay, guys, understanding all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that is amending, guys. So we have done this. We have saved it, we have done the staging part, we have committed it, we have changed the color to cyan, which was our another related change, right? And we have verified the change. Okay, now let us see one more option, which is called as rewinding. Okay, guys, rewinding is nothing but actually you go back in time, something like a reset, right? So you rewind, right, from a particular head, or rewind from a particular commit to a previous commit, right? So you can either do a soft rewinding or a soft reset, right? Or you can do a hard reset, right? Or a hard rewind, right? So again, depending upon the requirement, you may either want to do a soft reset or a hard reset, right? Hard reset, use it with caution, because it actually will delete the data and the changes that you have done, right? Whereas a soft reset, right, it is safe, and it is a better bet than hard reset, because your changes are not gone, your changes will still be available. Okay, so let us see this particular thing in action, how to do a reset or a rewinding, right? So let us get started with a soft reset, right? So that is our next exercise. All right. Okay, so what we do is we reset the head to a previous commit. So let us see the git log. Okay, so let us start with a soft reset or a soft rewind, right? Think of reset as a kind of rewind, guys, right? So when you want to actually do a rewind, let us start with a soft rewind. So you say reset and the name of the hash ID, right? Say for example, you want to rewind back to this particular commit, right? So let me have a log in one line. So if you do this and do a git log hyphen one line, right? So let us reset the head to this particular commit, right? So when I do this, see, git reset, right? And I can take this and put it over here, right? So it says unstaged changes after reset, right? So the changes are not gone, guys. The changes are still there. See, let me show you. If I now say git online, right? Let me clear this and say git log online, right? Sorry, not online, one line. See, now we have got only 3 commits, right? So moved HTML files to the HTML folder. That is our last commit, right? Change background color to cyan, that has been gone, right? So we have rewinded to this particular commit. And as you can see here, right, the changes are not gone, right? So you can still see the changes. See here, it is still cyan, right? So if you want, you can add it, right? So that is the advantage of a soft reset, right? So hard reset is dangerous. If you actually want, or if you are actually sure that, okay, you want to do a hard reset and delete things, and also you are not bothered about the changes, you can do a hard reset. So we are not doing a hard reset. We are doing, or we are seeing how to do a soft reset here, all right? So let us come back to this and see this. Okay, so we have done a soft reset. We have just moved into a particular commit, right? So we have verified the commit. So that is done. So let us just put a tick mark on these things as well. Sorry. Okay, let us stage it and commit it. So git and then git git commit -yum. So we can give the message. So the message name could be something. So we have actually ignored the change, or we have actually taken that particular message, right? And we have actually reset to this particular area, right? So let us rather have the same message. So we can do an amend. You can do an amend, right? This time let us do it with -yum, right? And either you can do a message name, or you can say --, no edit, if you want to retain the same message name, right? Now if I do a get log one line, right? You just have the 3 commits, right? With your changes intact, right? So you have just changed this, but you actually don't want a separate message by itself, right? So you have actually combined it or amended it to this particular message, all right? And if you want to do a hard reset, this is the syntax. So you do a get reset hard, right? And specify the ID name. Specify the ID over here. So this hard reset, when you do this, you please be very, very careful, right? So when you do a hard reset, right, please ensure that you are completely sure what you are trying to do, because when you do a hard reset, it deletes all the commits, right? It deletes all of the commits before that particular ID that you have specified, and also any of the changes on the files that you have done. Okay, say for example, cyan, the change that you have done, this change will also be gone, and all the particular IDs that are after this particular ID or this particular commit message will also be gone. Say for example, if you do a hard reset, let me give you an idea. So if you just first of all see your one-line message, right? So if you do a git hard reset on this, right? So git hard reset on this will remove the other messages that are below this, and also any changes that you have probably done, right? We have actually done a change. That particular change will also be lost. So please be very, very careful. Understanding, guys, all of you? So you guys need to actually practice this so that you get a better feel and you become comfortable, right, in using all these particular commands. Okay, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So one more, guys. So let us do a rebasing. Rebasing is also a very important command that we can make use of typically on branching. Since we have not done a particular branch, we'll talk about branches tomorrow. But again, you can rebase so that you base your particular thing, right, or you have your particular head pointer on a particular commit, right, or you can actually take a particular base, right, from one commit to another commit. So that is called as rebasing. Okay, so let us try with an example. See the order of commit. See, let me try to give you an idea first of all. So before we see an example, log hyphen one line. Right. So depending upon the number of commits that you have and depending upon the number of branches, now we don't have any branches. Depending upon the number of branch, you may want to take a particular commit from one particular branch and put it in another, right? Or even if you have a single master branch, right, you can move things around within the commits, right? So that is the entire idea behind rebase, right? So rebase is something like rebasing or putting or changing the order of commits within the commit or within the particular branch or within branches, right? So the typical syntax first of all is, sorry guys, the syntax first of all is you can make use of rebase hyphen I root. Hyphen I is you do it interactively, that is hyphen I, right? It is essentially a shorthand notation for hyphen interactive, right? So this we will make use of this because we don't have any branches yet. So this will actually give you all the commits that are available and then allow you to have some particular commands or allow you to edit and then change the ordering, right, etc. We will see this in action very soon. And the other thing is you can also do a rebase hyphen I and head and you can specify a number. It is not essentially one, it is a number that you can specify. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 5, depending upon the number of commits that you have. So this you typically make use of when you have a long history of commits and you just want to actually do a rebasing, say for example the top 5 or 3 or 4 commit messages, right? So that is also possible. For that you give this. So we will see an example, and the most widely used command is this. Typically when you have multiple branches, you say rebase hyphen interactive and specify your branch or your commit name. All right, so let's get a feel of this, of how to do rebasing, right, in this particular exercise, is exercise number 4. Okay, so what do we do here to do this rebasing, right? So let us update a file, say readme.md. So we have this readme.md file over here, and let us do a small update, right? And then stage it and commit it, right? And then view or verify the commits, right? And then let us rebase it. Okay. Say for example, I have an update over here for this. Say it's not a CBCS registration in that, that is in some other repository. So let me just say a simple static page of mine. All right, so we have saved this. Okay, so let us get add-up. We have staged this now. So now if you do a get status, let us just ensure that we are ready to commit. So we can now commit it. So we can now commit with a different message, COMMIT with -m, and then say updated all right. Now if you do git log -one line, right, you have this as the latest commit. Right now, say for example, okay, you have done this now, but then you realize that okay, this is to be actually a part of the first commit, or it should be a commit that should be after the first commit, or it should be in the beginning, right? You can do a rebasing, right, on this particular branch. Since we have the main branch only available now, let us do a rebase on this particular thing using this syntax rebase I root. Okay, so let us do this. So before we do this rebase root, we can also try this probably. How many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4. Maybe we can try this first or start with this first. So we can say rebase get rebase, right? And then hyphen I, and then head, and then tilde, and then say top 3 or say top 2. Okay, now see here, right? When you say head tilde do, what you can see here is it gives you only 2. There are so many commands. You can play around with this. You can see the documentation, play around with this and change the ordering, right? You can do whatever you want. So this is actually going back and forth over time, right? Changing the messages, right? Changing the order, right? In which things have been actually committed. You would have done a commit in a particular order, but then rather you would have probably decided that, okay, fine, this was not the order that I actually kind of wanted, but the order should have been like this, right? So that is the purpose of rebasing this. So here, when you make use of this particular idea, rebase hyphen I head, right? You can see the do commands, right? Moved HTML file and updated readme.md, only the two commits. Okay, now if I go over here, right? See here, this moved HTML files, right? And updated readme. Only these two are there that you can make use of to reorder, right? These two are not available here for you, right? Now this is depending upon the number of comments that you have and that you want to actually reorder or rebase, right? You can either go with this, or maybe if you want to see everything, you can go with rebase hyphen I root. So say for example, I don't want to do anything on this, but I want to see everything. So you can say rebase hyphen I, and then you can say a root. What is that? Rebase hyphen I root, invalid upstream root. Why is that so? I don't know. So do we have hyphen root? Okay, so it is a hyphen root. So the syntax is a small mistake. So it is an option. So hyphen root. Okay. So again, let me just close this. See here now, we have everything, right? From the first commit till the latest commit, right? And then you can move things around. All right, guys. So for example, you have the first commit, you have this updated. See, actually we have done this updation and we actually want this to be in the initial part, right? So we wanted this to be in the initial part. So let us take this out. Let us put this guy after the first commit, right? And save it. Okay, so this will be the order now. You can also play with all the different other commands that are available that you can try it out. Say for example, this is pick, right? There is also squash, there is also fix up, right? You can look into this. Say for example, squash actually uses this particular commit, or actually commits, right? But then melts into the previous commit. It melts this with the previous commit, right? You can also try playing with fix up, right? Now, for example, say for example, I'm not using a squash or a fix up or something like that. I just use a pick and then I am done with this. Let us see what is happening. So see this, successfully rebased and updated references head and main. Now if you do git log, see this, you have first commit, updated readme, git ignore, moved HTML files. Right, the order has been changed. Yes, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, say you can also try squashing or maybe fixing. Let me very quickly show you the S part, or rather I will show you the F part. Say for example, okay, I have updated the readme file, but then again, I actually wanted to be a part of first commit here, right? You can do that as well. So let us do a root again and come over here. Okay, hyphen root. Let me clear the screen so that you can see the thing, see the command clearly. And we have opened this up in the editor, and let us say now this is not a pick, rather it is a fix up. If you do a fix up as, see, like it is like Squash, but keeps the previous commits log message. Okay, so it keeps the previous commits log message, and this particular message is not available to you. So essentially, it is a part of first commit, and that is what we want to do. Say, for example, so we can do a F, and then we can close this, and then open our terminal, and then do a git log line. See here, so that has been merged, right? So that is actually a part of your first commit. All right, so now we have only 3 commits. All right, guys, so I request all of you to actually become comfortable with all these primary commands, play around with the different options, right? And get yourself comfortable with the basic git commands, right? And then it will be a part of your project or your development experience. You will be always doing kind of source code management using Git, and it will be a normal kind of workflow. So we are done with this. Sorry. Let us just put a tick mark on these things as well, and then tomorrow let us see some branching, pulling concepts, right? Pushing concepts, GitHub, all those things in the tomorrow's class or session. All right, guys. So let me just give me a second. Let me just copy this and then put it over here so that we just ensure ourselves that we have not missed everything, not missed anything rather. So we have done a staging, we have done a commit, we have verified, we have done a rebase, we have viewed the commits. All right, guys, so that is all for today. So guys, hope all of you have understood the concepts of getting comfortable with source code management using Git. So please play around with all these particular commands, get yourself comfortable, right? And if you have any kind of questions or something that you feel that you do not understand or something like that, you can either look into the documentation or feel to contact us anytime. All right, guys. So thank you all. That is all for the session. Catch up tomorrow, guys. Any queries before we actually leave?
Sir, can you tell about Squash again, sir?
Come again?
Can you tell about Squash again, sir, in the Git?
See, Squash is, I'll show you. Where do we have that? Yeah. So let us have this again. See here, Squash, it is just melts into the previous command. Okay, but Fixup is also a Squash. It also melts into the previous commit, the first commit, right? But unlike Squash, right, it only keeps the previous commit's log message. But whereas Squash, it keeps both the messages.
Okay, sir.
Okay, but again, using a fixup, if you want to have the message, right, you can either use -C or capital C. If you use a capital C, right, only the commits message will be available. Otherwise, if you use a small c, right, it uses the editor. You can play around with this. Both essentially are the same, but again, if you just make use of -C, it will be opened in the editor, small c. Whereas capital C, yeah, you can directly give the message.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can play around with this. You can either squash it or you can fix it, right? Yeah, so that was a nice question. Any other questions, guys? Okay, guys. So if you have no more questions, right, we are all done for today. Catch up tomorrow, where we will try to understand some more concepts on the local part, on the local Git part, and then we will go remote using GitHub. All right, guys. So thank you all once again. See you guys. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.